What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Monday, so you know time. It's time for the mock draft Monday. This week we're going over the mid-first round, and what I want to do is two mock drafts. First, we're going to take Gibbs here in this first one, and we're going to kind of show you how it works out when we take a running back in round one, and then we'll do another draft, completely new one. I'll like reset everything so it's not the exact same players, and we'll do one just drafting a random wide receiver. Basically, how the first round works out this season is more than likely, if you're in this general 5 through 7 range in the mid-first, you're probably not getting Saquon. The vast majority of leagues, they're going to go top 3. Pretty much every league is going to go top 4, definitely top 5. So you're probably not getting one of those two. So you do have a decision to make. Sometimes the decision is made for you, right? Someone takes Jahmyr Gibbs, and then you have that drop down into McCaffrey, into Genty, into Henry, Achane, where I don't think we're taking any of them in the middle of the first round. And so basically you can say, okay, if we can get Gibbs, here's how builds kind of work out taking that running back. If we don't get Gibbs, here's how it'll work out taking wide receiver first. So just kind of want to throw you into both builds. So again, first one, we're going to take Jahmyr Gibbs with this one. What running back first does is it opens up every strategy that is not Hero RB, which we know Hero RB over time has exceptional upside if you can actually hit on like a mid or late round running back that turns into a Chase Brown like last season, then it has phenomenal upside. It's very variable into just like what happens that year. Like if you just run into a year like last season where all the top end running backs crush, you lose. And it's kind of tough sometimes recommending a strategy where like based on factors that are completely outside your control, you just lose if you implement them. So it's a risky one, high upside, but very risky. But every other strategy is on the table here. We can go Hero RB, meaning we can take Gibbs and not draft another running back for a long time. We can double dip at running back. We can go with 2 in the first 3, 2 in the first 4. We can go robust and then not do it for a while. So we have options here. After we draft, so I didn't say, but the first round before we went was Chase Nico, which don't actually think it's crazy. Like it probably won't happen in your hometown league, but there are actually a lot of people who think Nico should be a top 5 pick this season. But Chase, Nico, Saquon, Bijan, and Justin Jefferson, we take Gibbs. After us, Genty, McCaffrey, Henry, and Achane, the ones I mentioned, are all off the board. That is very likely to happen in your hometown leagues. Puka, Lamb, Neighbors, Amon-Ra, Brian Thomas, Drake London, Ladin Conkey, and A.J. Brown all off the board. This is a very sharp first round and a half. Like that is exactly how it should go. I think actually we're at pick 19. I think there's only one player different. So my top 17 players are all off the board. I technically have Lad at pick 20. So there was one pick that was different from what I would have in the top 18. So again, very sharp here. And a lot of you are going to be in very sharp leagues. So let's see what we should do. When you get to this spot, you're basically going to have the Bowers decision. So when you're in the mid first round, you're going to end up obviously in the mid second round over here. Brock Bowers is going to be a name that is screaming at you, right? Like he is the most likely player to finish as the number 1 tight end. He could be the number 1 tight end by a point, 2 points per game, which would obviously give you a massive payoff there. Personally, if it were my hometown league, I probably wouldn't go with Bowers. One huge differentiator here is if you think that you have a big edge in the league and you think that you're better than the people you're going against, quarterback early, tight end early. They're very impactful. You're never going to be able to trade for Brock Bowers. You'll never be able to trade for Josh Allen, Trey McBride, Lamar Jackson, those guys. Like you can't trade for them in season. So if you think you're better, you can take Bowers. You can take that like strategy sort of hit because over time it's probably a suboptimal decision taking tight end round 2 when it's not just like 100% guarantee like it was with Kelsey. Again, it's pretty locked in, but personally, I probably wouldn't take him. I think it just like slows things down a little bit too much. We've now gone 2 rounds without taking wide receiver, which is fine. We might do that in this one, but we're also missing out on running back, and those two are so valuable early on that I want to be getting good value, and good value for Bowers is more like late second round. That would be really good. In this spot, there's still some very, very good players on the board. We'd be foregoing wide receiver until the mid-third. I would want to have 2 running backs if I was going to do that. So I don't think I would go Bowers in my hometown league. I think it's fine. Again, if you think you have the edge, that's fine to do. What our decision is basically right now is, do we want to take the value on Jonathan Taylor? I have Jonathan Taylor as that top Running back, we would not take a quarterback. Again, Bowers would be an option, so we can star him. Or do we take our top wide receiver? A little bit interesting. So I have the top wide receiver as Rashee Rice. I have Rice at about 2 points better than Tyreek Hill. This is half PPR scoring, by the way, this mock draft. That would give us an even build, so it wouldn't lock us in too much into what like a double running back build would be. I have the difference between, because if we basically miss out on running back, we're probably dropping down into like, I would imagine Breece Hall, James Conner, Kyron, but we definitely wouldn't want to be going with Ken Walker, wouldn't want to be going with Kamara. The one hesitation I have with JT is we kind of like know that our first guy is going to be amazing. Like we know that Gibbs is going to be awesome. And so we're not as reliant on that second running back spot. So I don't think in my hometown league, I'd probably go JT either, even though the rankings say to do that. I think after you take that first running back, I would maybe forego it. But the interesting thing is, if Rice is my next guy, is there a chance we get Rice in the next round? There's 10 picks that would have to go by. If you pulled up their ADP, that's kind of where Rice is. They're saying a decent chance he's still there. So it kind of does bring you back to the Brock Bowers position here. And I don't know, maybe I've talked myself into potentially just going Bowers, crossing our fingers that one of these top-end running backs or Rashee is there. I don't know. That's actually a very interesting one. All right, let's do it. I said we're not going to do it. We end up doing it because what I thought could happen happened. Rashee Rice there at the next round. Obviously, that was a huge decision for us in this draft. Okay, Gibbs, Bowers. Again, we're just going to pretend at this point we're better than everyone in the league. We can get better value later on. Maybe that will be the case for these simulators, but it's a big edge for us. It's just it's a risky one because we don't necessarily know that Bowers is going to be top guy, and you really got to be hitting on that like top or at least like a really strong season from tight end if you take them in round 2. But after we go, McBride comes off the board. We get Jacobs, JT, Bucky Irving, and Kyron. We get T, JSN, Tyreek at wide receiver, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. We easily can take Rashee Rice as this next guy. If you guys wanted to take, so if you liked Garrett Wilson a lot, sure. If you like Adams a lot, Marv, I don't think it's a very strong case against taking Rashee Rice. Sure, he could be suspended, but if he is, it's not going to be that long. And if he isn't, wheels up. I mean, he's going to be basically playing the Travis Kelce role. I think Evan Silva had a stat over the last, I don't remember the exact stat line, but basically over his last full season played, if you just like count the playoffs, count, the 3 games he had last season and move back, it's like insane numbers. It's like over 100 reception, over 1,200 yards, I think like 8 touchdowns, and that's basically as a rookie in the playoffs. Like he has such a strong role on this team, locked in production, playing with the best quarterback in football. Like it just makes too much sense that he's going to be amazing this season. Again, I would have taken him at 207 instead of Bowers, but now we get him at 306, having taken Bowers. And that was a little bit what was kind of going to the decision, was like, okay, if we take Bowers, we're now saying we want one of, Jacobs, JT, Bucky, Kyron, that would be great. We want one of Rice, Tyreek, I would say like JSNT, maybe throw again Marv into that mix. We want one of those guys. Well, if we take Bowers, we can kind of leave them all on the board and hope that someone messes up and doesn't take one, and they do, and we get Rashee Rice. Okay, after we went with the Rice pick, a lot of running backs go. Chase Brown, Alvin Kamara, Chuba, Ken Walker, Hampton, who we'll talk about, maybe we get to Najee a little bit, but no idea with Najee if this eye issue. It was a little bit weird, how they were talking about it, being like, oh yeah, he'll be fine for week 1. It's like, I would have been put a lot more at ease if they were like, he'll be fine for camp, he's totally fine. They were like, oh yeah, he's totally fine, gonna be good for the start of the season. If he's totally fine, that to me says he'd be good tomorrow, which if you say the start of the season to me is not tomorrow, that's saying he'll be fine in 2 months. So a little bit uneasy about that. And if he's not good to start the season, Hampton just gets even more opportunity to go in there, dominate, and just have this job on a team that's going to run the ball a ton, has a good offensive line, a good run scheme. Honestly, they weren't good at running the ball last season, but they wanted to be good running the ball. That's why they drafted Hampton. That's why they brought in Najee. If Najee's not good to go, Hampton can be a stud this season. But he goes, Mixon, Breece Hall. Only Garrett Wilson, Adams, Marv, and McLaurin, and then Jane Daniels off the board, which means we have the last of the tier 1 quarterbacks as well. We can go with I call it a 4 pillars approach on grabbing top quarterback, tight end, running back, and wide receiver. And you're basically hoping, if I took Jalen Hurts here, he could be the top quarterback. I could get the top tight end in Bowers. Gibbs could be the top running back. And then if Rice ends up 1, I have the 1 at all 4 positions. Strong strategy if it works out. And then obviously taking Bowers and Hurts, you would have the entire rest of the draft to just draft running backs and receivers. So it's a very strong strategy. Where do I have? I have Jalen Hurts at 39. We're at 43, so we have good value there. If we looked at running back, I only have James Cook, and James Cook is a good pick here. I have James Cook at 37, so he would be an option for us. He has the risk right now. I'm recording this on Friday, July 11th. Camps open in 2 weeks, a little bit less than 2 weeks, depending on the team. We'll learn a lot, right? If he's out there in week 1 or day 1 of camp, we're going to be very pleased. His ADP is probably going to go higher. If he is not out there, we're going to be a little bit more cautious with him. And because I don't know that right now, I probably wouldn't draft him in the spot just because if he doesn't go out there, I don't really want to be taking him in round 4 if now we're adding on risk that he starts the season. Because even if you get paid, right, you start the season slow, injury risk goes up when you hold out. There's just a better chance that Ray Davis steals more workload. I think he's going to get paid. It's just as you kind of push that off more and more, it becomes more risky. But if he were to have a contract right now, I would draft him in the spot. The unknown's a little risky. At wide receiver, there is nothing. So Evans is the top guy, but I have him at 42. Obviously, I said I have Cook and Jalen Hurts higher than that. Kittle would be a fine pick here. I have him at 40. I would still prefer Cook and Jalen Hurts, but obviously we're not going to do that. Never, ever draft 2 early tight ends in a redraft league. I promise you it's not worth it. So I think I would go with Jalen Hurts here. We're going to do one of the 4 pillars. We're going to take him, and we're going to see how this draft works out. I do like this start. I think it's a very baseline good start. And again, if you think you have an edge, this doesn't mean if you think you're the best player in the league by a mile. It means if you think you're a top 25% player in the league, that you can take advantage of the mid and late rounds, getting sleepers, getting players that are undervalued. Now you have a million opportunities, right? This is going to be, I think 6 bench spots. So we've got 14 rounds. Round 14 will be a defense. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks in a row that are going to be running back and receiver. And I don't even feel that thin compared to some other teams. So I think the start is pretty strong. Okay, let's figure this out. So at running back, we like Swift. We like Travion. We like Aaron Jones. We like Judkins. But I think Swift, I think Travion are a little bit ahead of those guys. In the rankings, I have Travion first, then Swift. Because James Conner is also off the board. Yeah, so I have Travion first. So he would be the guy we'd go at if we were going with a running back. But I don't know that we're going to go with a running back. So I like Metcalf. You know my thoughts on Sutton. You know my thoughts on Zay Flowers. I think they're great players on great offenses that have locked in production. But we basically know what we're getting from them. And that would be fine at our wide receiver 2 spot here. Personally, I prefer going with a little bit more ceiling. The odds are, given where you draft Sutton and where you draft Flowers, they're probably going to be around that spot, but they're very unlikely to exceed value, very unlikely to be someone who, you look back in the season, you're like, thank goodness I drafted them. You're probably going to look around and be like, I could have drafted a number of different players in this range and gotten similar or better production. There's no real ceiling. A ton of added competition in Denver, and an offense is probably going to run the ball more this season. Zay, they bring in Hopkins. There isn't crazy competition, but they have so many players, and they never even look his way in the red zone that the best season you can imagine isn't really that good. So they're just not players I want to go after. Metcalf, maybe he's not great, but how bad can he be when Calvin Austin is their number 2? Maybe Roman Wilson steps up, but he's going to have close to a 30% target share, especially if you think they go run heavy and heavy packages for Metcalf. We know mathematically tight ends command lower target shares. So when you go to a heavy package, that's 2 tight ends, it's maybe 3 tight ends at time for the season. Those tight ends are not going to command 20% target shares. So you're going to have Metcalf only competing with tight ends for targets. His target share is going to be through the roof in some of these games, and they want to go heavy with Arthur Smith there running things. So Metcalf is absolutely an option for us. He is the top wide receiver in the rankings right now. It is close between him and Devonta Smith. They're like neck and neck. You kind of flip-flop the both of them, but personally from like a upside perspective, I know Smith has upside, but I think Metcalf is just the play at this spot. So I would go with DK Metcalf as our second wide receiver team here. Again, Hurts, Gibbs, Rashee, Metcalf, and Bowers. We're going with the hero RB build here, but Swift is still on the board after that pick, so we will end up taking him. But after we go, Tet, Calvin, Ridley, Devonta Smith, Courtland Sutton all go off the board. So Flowers is actually still there, and we're starting to get in the range where Flowers is much better. Pollard, Travion, Najee going way too early. A huge run at quarterback. Back to back. Mahomes, Kyler, Nix, Baker, which is honestly not unrealistic. They're kind of go in this general range. And then Sutton and Sam Laporte to kind of round out what goes before us. But no decision here. Again, you could go with Zay Flowers, but if I don't think he has a crazy amount of upside, I think it's very likely he finishes as a wide receiver 3. I don't have a running back 2 yet. I think Swift could be the Jahmyr Gibbs for the Bears this season. We'll go with him. And honestly, I'm glad about the Bowers pick. So maybe I need to trust the rankings a little bit. The rankings were saying at the Bowers pick that, him and JT were, I don't want to say clearly the top 2, but like pretty clearly. It was close between them, Bucky Irving and Rashee Rice, but they're ahead for sure. So maybe I need to kind of consider Bowers a little bit more early on, because even doing that, I feel pretty good with Rice and Metcalf, feel pretty good with Gibbs and Swift, and we still don't have to spend a later pick at tight end or quarterback right now. We went with both of them early, which is something I haven't typically done, but I feel like you can do it maybe this season. So we'll see. We'll see how the draft kind of ends up here. Okay. Running back. We like Caleb, although we have Metcalf, and we don't want to add too much risk to an offense that has a million-year-old quarterback, one that, didn't look that great last season. So he is for sure the top guy, though. It's him, Brian, Jalen Warren, Mason, but it's pretty clearly Caleb Johnson's the top running back. But Jalen Waddle, not by a mile, but Jalen Waddle, George Pickens, Rome Odunze, a little drop down into like Judy and Jawan, but where do I have those receivers? Because they're pretty strong values right now. Waddle, I have a pick 49. We're at 78. That's an unbelievable value. I have it Waddle, then Pickens, then Odunze. Yeah, you have to go Waddle here. Them losing Jonnu Smith, I know they bring in Waller, but obviously everyone knows Waller's going to get fewer targets than Jonnu got. And we already know, we've kind of talked about how, I think they're going to move away from that dump-off offense where they're just dumping the ball off to Achane and Jonnu every play, and they're going to push the ball downfield more to Waddle and Tyreek Hill this season because both of them were injured for a huge chunk of last season. They were playing through things, but they're both injured, not as effective. If they're good to go this season, that offense is going to shift back to that style. And, sky's the limit for Jalen Waddle. And injury to Tyreek Hill, or some people, I think Evan Silva was kind of talking about the other day. He thinks Waddle could outscore Tyreek Hill this season. I think everyone thinks that could happen. I don't think I would bet on that happening, but in the mid-7th round, I'll absolutely bet on that happening. Okay. Again, starting roster's filled, so we're not going to have 6 bench spots. Jalen Hurts, Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Brock Bowers, and Jalen Waddle. I love it so far. Mason has to be my top running back. Mason's still on the board. We like Tarn Tracy Jr. I'm not big on Etienne or Javonte Williams. Pretty clearly, though, it is Jordan Mason. It is Tarn Tracy Jr. Maybe you could think about Stevenson if you think it's more of a split, but it's a little early for a handcuff on New England because I do think it's going to be handcuff status for Stevenson. Judy is a great pick as well at wide receiver. Every time I say that, I think back to our decision with Bowers and Hurts, and I think it makes more and more sense. But Judy's a great pick. Pearsall's a great pick in this spot. Josh Downs. My goodness. Yeah. Buka, Matthew Golden, like all options for us. Judy, definitely a top option. Judy, I have at, where'd he go? 66. We're at 91. That's such good value. Because, yeah, I have Mason at 85, which still good. My gut says I would probably just like, bite the bullet and take Mason. But if we could end up getting both them, 10 picks will go by. Mason's the 6th running back. I mean, I feel like we've dominated this league at that point. If we could take Judy here, kind of the last of that top tier wide receiver, get one of hopefully Tracy or Mason in the next round, and we're just smoking everyone. I think we try it. All right. Judy. Oh, man. Mason is still there. Take Mason. We're just crushing this draft. Okay. I'll pull up the draft board for you guys so you can see that. Wow. I think that's really good. And maybe you guys don't agree with all the player takes, but Gibbs, Swift, Mason is totally fine. Rice, Metcalf, Waddle, Judy, love that. Having Bowers and Jalen Hurts after that. Okay, beautiful. I think we just keep building evenly at this point. I don't think we're like crazy different running back receiver. We probably have more value at wide receiver right now. So lean running back. But, I mean, we're basically handcuff range for running back. So Rachaad White is a premier handcuff. They lose the offensive tackle, the left tackle, for likely a month. We don't really know at this point. It doesn't hurt Rachaad as much. If anything, you could almost view it as a positive in being like, okay, rushing efficiency was never going to be there, so that's not a problem. He's getting all his value from the receiving game. I mean, the odds are they're going to be worse, right, over the first month. So if the offense sees natural regression, if they're getting hit a little bit more, the pressure's getting there, maybe they're losing a little bit more often, especially their defense being bad. Maybe White just has a higher snap share than you're expecting early in the season. We also have to remember, like with Bucky Irving, they were in must-win mode for like most of the season last year. Like it was tough for them making the playoffs. To close the season, we're featuring him, but like they had to win games. If they know they have a full season, maybe it's just a little bit less likely that they like fully feature him. And Rachaad White, for as much as we've poo-pooed his like early down success, because he's not a good running back, he's great in the receiving game. So he's good in that aspect. And if they're losing games, they are going to use him over Bucky. I've heard people ask about Sean Tucker. I just think Sean Tucker is more of a threat to Bucky. Like if Sean Tucker actually develops, becomes this great early down guy, I don't think anyone can challenge Rachaad White in the receiving game. And so that would be more like if they get him onto the field more in early downs to like kind of save Bucky. But I still think Sean Tucker is more just like injury handcuff to Bucky Irving. But yeah, Rachaad White would be a good pick here. Trey Benson, handcuffed to James Conner would be good. Guerrero, if you think McCaffrey gets injured. Algier for Bijan. Again, none of these guys are going to do anything without an injury. No one left on the board. I don't want to say has any chance, but has a very, very, very low chance of actually becoming a starter because they beat out the starter. Maybe you could argue Tank Bigsby. Maybe you could argue Jaden Blue as well. Maybe Roshan if you thought that Swift was only receiving back. But like at the end of the day, these guys are handcuffs. And because of that, I think at receiver, you're leaning Ibuka because he's kind of the last. Like Ibuka down to Shaheed. Maybe you take a shot on Coleman or Kirk or Mims or something, but like a lot of these guys are not that great. But Ibuka clearly has a ceiling this season. If Godwin takes a little bit to recover, I think he's an unbelievable talent. I think people are underrating how good Emeka Ibuka is. So I think you take him. We go back to running back and we just take our favorite between Benson and Guerrero. I truly don't care, whichever one you think. I guess my gut would say that McCaffrey is more likely to get injured, especially if we're thinking we have plenty of offseason right now still to go. So Guerrero, we know they would trust him as that lead back. So I'd probably go him. And then last two, I mean, you probably are looking at, I don't know. I mean, you're going pure upside for wide receiver. I like Shaheed. I kind of said in a video recently I wouldn't take him as much in redraft, but also, I mean, his yardage prop is 700 yards. Find me a player on here whose yardage prop is 700 yards. Like, he's probably going to have around that like 700 yard mark. I mean, Christian Kirk could maybe do that. Maybe Hollywood if everything goes right. Maybe Dobbs if he's traded or there's a trade there. But like looking around, there's really no one in that range that would actually like do anything. So it's probably Shaheed, and then you take your favorite running back shot. I like. Yikes. Gross. Did they even have Keaton Mitchell even got drafted? That's surprising. Oh, no, he didn't. He's right there. I'd probably take Keaton Mitchell. But you could take Miles Sanders here. You could take Elijah Mitchell. Will Shipley is probably a better play. Will Shipley. You get a Saquon injury, they're going to trust Will Shipley a decent amount. All right, do that. I'll put up the draft board one last time for any of you who want to like kind of look at that. That's what happened kind of later on. I think this draft went phenomenally. We'll take the Vikings. They have a consistently great defensive scheme. Okay, we'll do that. I think that's an unbelievable team. I think it's way better than 86 overall for where they're doing the math. May have been one of the best mock drafts we've had. I want to just do this. Okay, you can see most of it probably. What we're going to do is just keep this right here. I'll pull it up for you guys later, and we'll do another one. So that's kind of how round one look, or taking running back round one looks to me. I guess I can kind of pull it up right here. I think you're leaning hero. Typically, like it doesn't really work out. Wide receiver drops off a little bit to where like I would feel a lot worse. Like I love Waddle Judy. I feel a lot worse if like Metcalf turns into Waddle Judy and I have like that extra running back. Just this season, I just think it falls off too much. And if I'm drafting Gibbs in the first round, I'm assuming he's going to be great, which I think he is going to be unbelievable this season, especially if you think there's regression on the team. But yeah, I think hero is probably your play if you're taking that running back. But let's go back and let's do another one, assuming that we don't get Jahmyr Gibbs. So we start this draft off. We'll do the 6th pick again. All the settings are exactly the same. Good. They didn't give us Gibbs as an option. I was going to have to force the computer to do something. So this is actually exactly what would happen. So I think this exact start is how 60, 70% of hometown leagues will start. Chase will go first. One of Bijan or Saquon go 2. The other one goes 3. Jefferson goes 4th. And Gibbs goes 5th. I think that's how most of them are going to start this season, in which case I think you take Lamb. You can pretend we're at the 7 pick here, 8 pick here, and if you don't get Lamb, you get one of like Neighbors, Puka, Nico. They're all going to be incredible, and it's not going to change draft strategy at all for what you do. So pretend that's anyone, but at 6, I would go CeeDee Lamb. So after we go, we do not have the Bowers decision this time. So we'll see a different build from this spot. Bowers goes, decent amount of wide receivers go, Puka, Neighbors, Amon-Ra, Brian Thomas, Nico, London, and A.J. Brown. And then McCaffrey, Genty, Derrick Henry, and Achane, just like we said in the last one. That's who's going to go in these drafts. Okay. Pull up the team. CeeDee Lamb to start things off. I will not go McBride. I do think McBride is definitely the second best tight end this season. I don't want to draft him in the early second round when someone else got a little bit better value. And again, we kind of just did a build with the early tight end. So we'll see how things kind of shift. Our lean would be running back, right? Because we still want the option to go hero. Like you can still go hero from a second round pick. But if you start off wide receiver, it just makes it a little bit more risky. Maybe the rest of your draft goes really heavy at running back. You're sitting there with great wide receiver value and you're like, well, can I really go 3 receivers in a row? The answer is yes, you can, but it starts to get really, really risky later on because if that continues to happen and you don't get running back value, now all of a sudden you started off RB0, and again, you're kind of at the mercy of just what happens. Do you get a year like last year where all these running backs hit, you're just getting steamrolled by teams at the running back position, wide receivers get injured, your team's falling off, and you're just cooked, and that just stinks when, something, again, completely outside your control occurs like that. So I think I would lean away from wide receiver. If it went with receiver, it would be Ladd. I've heard some points recently that I kind of agree with Ladd, just being like, he's great. And he's going to have a huge target share, but they want to run the ball. It's unlikely he has like a 30% target share. Like they still have other talented players on the team. There's some risk there that they run the ball more than people think. They aren't airing it out as much. His target share is good, but not elite. And so he's a good season, but maybe it doesn't pay off second round ADP. And I kind of understand that take. So let's go back up in the rankings over here. Again, it's the same decision as last time. JT, Bucky, Jacobs is how I have it. No reason to play the ADP game. Those guys will not be there at our next pick. So we'll do CeeDee Lamb, and then we'll do Jonathan Taylor. After we go. Jacobs, Bucky, Chase Brown, Cameron off the board. Top 2 quarterbacks, Lamar and Josh Allen go. McBride's off the board. And then Ladd, JSN, and Terry McLaurin. Okay. We are up. Breece Hall, I would say is clearly the top running back. Some people are scared. I understand they're going to run a 3-running back committee. I think Isaiah Davis is pretty good. I think Braylon Allen has a chance to be good. Breece Hall's still the best running back on that team. And I think people are really off of Breece Hall. They're going to run the ball a ton. Justin Fields actually does dump off to running backs at a pretty high clip, one of the highest clips in the league, if not the highest clip in the league. So there's plenty of upside here. This is a man who cost you a top 5 pick in recent seasons. Like, the talent is still there. He's still incredibly young, incredibly gifted at running back. I don't buy the people who think he's like fallen off or anything. I don't buy that. Or that almost feels, I don't want to say it feels the same thing as Jacobs, but like it's a similar-ish sentiment to where like last season, no one wanted Josh Jacobs because of like a bad year. And you were like, this man like won the rushing championship on a team where everyone knew he was getting the ball every play, is still in the prime of his career. Sure, he had a bad year, but everyone's like, oh, people who are that inefficient never, ever come back. It's like, yes, they do. Like, people have such short memories. Like, it was pretty obvious that Jacobs was a good pick last season. Kind of feels similar this year, where you're like, you're going to look back at the end of last year and be like, wait, why did we let Breece Hall on one of those run-heavy teams in the league with a mobile quarterback that we know increases efficiency of running backs, who also dumps it off? Why was he going in the third round? Because you were scared of Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen. Where Braylon Allen proved to be pretty bad last season. Again, I like Isaiah Davis, but also a pretty low sample size there. I don't know. That's kind of the things I'm thinking. And I do want to do a 2 running back and 3 round build here. It's kind of build around kind of like a wide receiver hero start. If you went receiver again, Rashee Rice is an unbelievable pick here. Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, they're all great, great, great picks. And I do have Breece Hall behind Rice, Higgins, and Tyreek. Like, I have him behind all of those guys. But I want to see how it works out from a strategy perspective doing this. The only hesitation I have is that, like, how things are set up right now, we might get Mixon or Marion Hampton in the next round. And if that were to be the case, I would maybe want to just grab Rashee, because would I rather have Rashee Rice and, I don't know, Mixon, or Breece Hall, and like Marv or something? I actually don't know if that would be too much of a difference. I'm doing it. I'm taking Breece Hall. We're going with the upside there. Okay. Mixon is there. Okay. JT, Breece Hall, CeeDee Lamb. After we go, Cook, Ken, Alvin Kamara, Marion Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, and James Conner off the board. George Kittle goes. Jane Daniels goes. Rashee, T, Tyreek, and Garrett Wilson go off the board. So we do have the option for Mixon. And Mixon is also at the end of its here. Mixon goes, I'm in the rankings at 45. We're at 43, so it's right there. But the next running back that I have is Travion at 55. So not a crazy jump, but a pretty decent jump down there. And I'd be interested to see how the team kind of works out. If we go running back heavy in this one, we forego running back for a very long time. We draft like 2 handcuff running backs on the bench, and we just go with JT, Breece Hall, Joe Mixon, lock up, 20 touches per game for all of them. That's like 60 touches on our roster each week, and then just draft 2 handcuff running backs and try and hit on other positions. Or do we go with some of these wide receiver studs that are still here? Adams, Evans, Marv. Throw in DJ Moore into that tier. I think there's a tier break after that into like Metcalf, Sutton, Zay that we kind of had before. Rankings wise, I have Marv at 31. So it's such a better pick kind of having him, but Marv at 31, Adams at 38, Evans at 42, all ranked better than Mixon. Probably doesn't make sense to draft the 3rd running back at this spot. So I'll take Marv, but I'd be interested to see kind of how that other build would have worked out. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's going to work out in our favor. Okay. So we go with Marv. Mixon, of course, goes. Harvey goes. Judkins goes. Adams, Mike Evans, Tet, and Olave off the board, and then Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow. So DJ Moore is still there. And that really helps us because we don't want to be starting this new tier running back already having JT and Breece Hall. We're assuming they're going to be good. I've told you that mid-round tight end, you probably shouldn't be going after. I love Hawkinson, but you would hope that Hawkinson just like falls a little bit like he kind of does on Underdog, goes in like, I don't even know, pick like 90 on Underdog. We're at 54. Like we don't want to be taking tight end at this spot if it's not, Kittle or better. it's the first tier of quarterbacks, so you want to wait on that as well. But DJ Moore is an unbelievable pick. I have DJ Moore pick 44. We're at 54. It's just kind of obvious that you would go with DJ Moore at this pick. And because we kind of passed on it, I feel like we're pretty even at running back and receiver. Lamb, Marv, and DJ Moore. We've got JT and Breece Hall. We are locked and loaded at those two positions. And this is interesting because it's the opposite of last time. Last time, of course, we went early running back and tight end. This one, what if we did a double dip? Like, what if we tried double dipping on both of them? So we'll take 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends. That's 2 spots on the bench. We'll have 4 other ones left. We said we'd probably take, at least 2 running backs, but maybe it's 2 running back, 2 receiver, 2 quarterback, 2 tight end. Kind of close things off. I want to try it. I want to try doing that, and I want to compare the 2 teams, going tight end early and wide receiver or quarterback early. Okay. JMO, Worthy, Waddle, Pickens are the top end here. With, I think, JMO. I'm pretty sure JMO is first. We'll confirm that. No, Waddle. Waddle at 169.1, JMO at 167.7. I'd be fine with either one of them. Running back, Aaron Jones. I would put Aaron Jones and Pollard probably in the same tier. Aaron Jones, Pollard, and I would say they should probably be ahead of everyone else. I have them as mid 70s though, so not amazing picks at this spot. And yeah, I think I would go Waddle. I would go Waddle with that pick. Take Waddle. 7-6. Oh, Warren. Okay. Part of my gut says when we finish this is I'm going to like the other build a little bit better. I'll show you the draft board. It feels like we're not getting, we're getting good value, but I'm pretty sure I drafted Waddle in the 7th round last time. So maybe that was a little bit better value, but I would still take Waddle at that pick. And we have a very good wide receiver room, obviously. Having Lamb, Marv, DJ Moore, and Jalen Waddle, we're going to be locked into 3 running backs or 3 wide receivers every single week. It's totally fine drafting that 4th one there because, weeks 5, 8, and 10, we're going to need Waddle, obviously. Every single one of those guys is going to have potential for bad weather, besides Marv, every week he has good weather. But bad weather spots, we're going to have potential injuries, we're going to have potential bad matchups. And so you're going to use that 4th wide receiver a lot more than you think you will. So I'm good going with that. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like this squad's going to have a little bit of a lower ceiling. And I feel like we were able to identify a lot of really strong values at running back and receiver later on to where I had potentially the number 1 quarterback and tight end the other one. At this point, I'm going to get good options at those positions, but they're not going to be as good. So I don't know. Maybe I do need to move, tight end quarterback up a little bit in the rankings. I'll kind of think about that after this video, but we'll see what the grade is. Again, I don't really care too much about the Fantasy Pros grade, but I feel more about how we feel about the team. I think we're going to like the team more than the other one. But all right, let's close this one off. So I would probably want to take Warren. If I didn't get Warren, Mason. So Warren and Mason would be the top 2 there. I think you want to probably go with one of them just because if you end up there's a running back run, you miss out on the running back after that. I don't really want my 3rd back to be Cam Scatterby. I do want to have someone with a little bit more upside. I do have Mason 0.3 points ahead of Warren. I think I would take Warren in the off chance that we don't like the wide receivers and maybe Mason is still there at the next one. We can double dip. So I would probably do that. Mason is there at the next one. And honestly, I think I would forego wide receiver. So I would probably take Mason after that. I would go over to Pittman. Mooney, actually. I have Mooney ahead of Pittman. I'll tell you the exact rankings here. Mooney, I have at pick 90. We're at 102 overall. I have Pittman 3 points lower, pick 95. Love Mooney this season. I really just like the whole Falcons offense, really. But okay, so we do that. Again, the reason that I kind of just didn't even look at quarterback and tight end is under the assumption that we're doing this double dip, you want as good a value as possible. There's so many good tight ends this season that if I'm going to double dip, I want to be waiting. If I'm going to double dip a quarterback, I want to be waiting. I want to make sure that my bench of the skilled players is as strong as possible. Had we waited, every round we wait at running back. Like we now don't have really backups. Like Warren and Mason aren't handcuffs. They're like actual backs that are going to have roles that, like, if we get an injury to Taylor or Brees, if they get hurt or something like that, or they have a bye week, we can actually play them and they'll have production. Whereas like you look at the players like, Algier, Guerrero, Ray Davis, Trey Benson, like they are backups. We can't actually play them unless there's an injury. So having our bench have actual playable running backs plus these really high-end wide receivers, I think is more valuable than maybe getting a slightly better shot at quarterback and tight end, because realistically, you don't actually know. That whole range of like quarterback 7 on, I would say you can probably put up the quarterback rankings here. I'll just show you guys. For anyone staying this far, here's the quarterback rankings. This, like Lamar, Allen, Daniels, Hurts is a tier kind of its own in quarterback. Burrow's in his own mini tier. Mahomes is honestly in another mini tier. Then you have this trio of Kyler, Bo Nix, and Baker, and everyone else is the same. Everyone I'm dragging down here through like Geno, again, isn't like the same, but they're so similar in their production and their like expectation this season, especially this top end of it, that you don't really want to go Kyler plus Dak when you could just wait a while and go like Caleb and Dak, or like Dak and Fields, or Fields and Goff, or McCarthy and May. Like, I don't care which duo I get. They're going to be good this season, and you don't really know which one's going to be the best, so just wait on that range. But it's time to take one of them. So I think I have Ingram as the top tight end. I think Caleb is the top quarterback. He's barely ahead of a lot of those other guys. I think Ingram, I'll pull up tight end with it. Ingram is a good chunk. And I think the play with Ingram is more like I can see the actual ceiling. A lot of people don't see the ceiling with Ingram, but I can see the ceiling for tight ends, and that like he's in this role that's getting schemed usage on this team that like every week we can rely on like 4 to 6 receptions. I would say like 5 or 6 receptions we can like rely on heavily, that we know it's coming. And so when we can rely on like the floor being like 5 for 65 and he's mixing in touchdowns, and he has games where they fall behind and he gets like 7 or 8 receptions, that's something at tight end where like a lot of the guys in this range don't have that in the range of outcomes. And so even with the double dip, I kind of want that upside, and I truly don't care if some quarterbacks went off the board and we didn't get them. So we'll pull up Ingram. We will honestly, if Warren were there, Warren goes 1 pick before we end up drafting. I would have taken Warren because I also think he has that upside. But I think Loveland, I think Dallas Goedert, Jake Ferguson, all great picks. Unlikely that all of them come off the board. So you probably want to just take your top quarterback. Again, my top quarterback here would be Caleb Williams. So we take him. We can grab, those quarterbacks aren't going to go off the board. So we'll grab our top tight end. I actually don't remember how I have that ranking. I have it Loveland at 114 or 139, Goddard at 117, and then Ferguson at 125. All great picks. But I think it also makes sense kind of going Evan Ingram, that older, stable player we know should have a role. Loveland, Ingram we can start with. Loveland we can move to later in the season if we need to. Okay, we do that, and then we take our top quarterback. I'm pretty sure is Dak Prescott. It is, but I would love May. I love McCarthy. Trevor Lawrence, I like this season. Like, again, there's so many great picks there. All right. We don't get, I'll pull up defense rankings. We don't get the Vikings in this one, but it is what it is. I actually have the Texans third. How about that? Texans. Great defense. Again, soon I'm going to adjust for schedule, but I do not have that done yet. Okay, here's the team. Again, I think we're going to like the other team a little bit more. Hoping this looks totally fine for everyone. Okay, this will look a lot better for you all. Team 1, first team we drafted. I'll read off the whole team. Jalen Hurts, Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Brock Bowers, Jalen Waddle, Vikings defense, Judy, Mason, Egbuka, Isaac Urendo, Rashid Shaheed, and Will Shipley on the bench. Second team, where we forgoed, we took wide receiver early first, Then we did not draft quarterback or tight end early. Caleb Williams, JT, Brees Hall, Lamb, Marv, Evan Ingram, DJ Moore, Texans defense, but again, that's a throwaway. Then Waddle, Jalen Warren, Mason, Mooney, London, and Dak. I actually do think it's a little bit closer than I was thinking before. My gut says you're trying to build a championship team. You go with the first one. I mean, if we're shooting for first place, obviously Hurts has more upside than these two quarterbacks. Obviously Bowers is going to have a better season than Ingram and Loveland. Like, no matter what you think the outcomes could be there, like, he is going to be set up much better than those two. And then, like, we're hurt, obviously. Like, the second team has a much better running back room, JT and Brees Hall. But if Gibbs hits his top outcome here, it's the running back one overall. And Swift, if he's used as like Gibbs on Chicago, he's potentially going to outscore Brees Hall. So there's still plenty of upside there. I would say the wide receiver rooms, like, we gained an edge on the other one, but not a crazy edge. I would say it's the benches where it comes in. So having to have those two picks at quarterback there and tight end there was fine. And really all we missed out on was this, like, Shaheed Shipley, which, are we going to use them? Like, are we actually going to trust Shaheed? Is, Saquon going to get injured? Like, it's kind of a low upside play. And they look at the rest of the bench, and it's like, obviously you'd rather have, Warren and Mason over some of these running backs. You'd rather have, Jalen Waddle over Judy. Like, Jalen Waddle's on the bench on the other team. Like, he's starting the other one. So I think it's a lot closer. You have much better depth in the other one. But again, I think if I had to say one of these teams is in your main contest, I don't know. Maybe I don't think it's that close. I think you go with the quarterback and tight end early. So interesting. Obviously, there's different variants here too. Like, you could have just taken quarterback early and not taken tight end, double dip there. You can just double dip at quarterback and take Brock Bowers early. But I think the moral of the story is, in the rankings, I think I got to go really with what they say. After you get through that top 17, when you get like Henry's off the board, Achan's off the board at running back, London, AJ Brown are gone. That's the top 17. Once you get to that like 18, 19, 20 range, which is where you kind of be at in the mid-first round, I think Bowers is a perfectly fine pick to make there. And that brings you through 18. That means you'd be at pick like 5 if you weren't getting Bowers. And then you can still go with like, JT and Ladd and still build a really strong team like we had over here. But maybe Bowers is the pick. Maybe early quarterback is also the pick, because early quarterbacks, at least this season, are not going as early as you would have anticipated because they didn't crush it last season. But that's not to say they can't do the same this season. So maybe I'm team early quarterback, early tight end. I'd love to know your thoughts. Do some of you really just prefer the team on the right that kind of waited? What are your thoughts on quarterback, tight end early this season? Again, please let me know in the comment section down below. A long mock draft Monday, but I think a good one to kind of talk about the process here. Leave a like if you are one of the few people still watching at this point. If you haven't subscribed and you're still watching here, you clearly somewhat liked it. I'm looking at the timestamp right now. This is like a 49-minute video. You liked it at some degree. If you're still watching at this point, please subscribe. We're going to have a ton of content like this all summer long and into the season as well. That'll do it for this one, though. Thank you all for watching. We have the live stream at 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, and then we'll have a Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday video. Again, thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new here. I'll catch you all on the next one.